You know what no one warns you about when you think you've struck gold? Sometimes the glitter hides the trap. Anyway, I met Ryan on a dating app right before the world shut down in 2020. And listen, this man checked every single box. Thriving entrepreneur, houses in 3 cities, cars worth more than most people's yearly salaries doubled. And from day one, he acted like I was his dream come true. I'm Lila. I'm 33, raising 2 kids on my own, Ethan's 8, and Chloe's 6. Before Ryan, I was exhausted. Single mom life is like trying to breathe with weights on your chest, barely scraping by while watching everyone else live the life you know you deserve. But Ryan flipped my whole world upside down. We matched in January, and by date 5, he was already talking rings and more kids like it was as natural as breathing. Was it fast? Absolutely. Did I care? Not at all. I had 2 little ones counting on me, bills piling like dominoes, and here stood this gorgeous man offering me the kind of safety I'd been craving since my divorce left me with nothing but debt and 2 mouths to feed. Ryan didn't just want me, he wanted my kids, too. I introduced him at the end of that first month, and watching him with Ethan and Chloe sealed the deal. He spoiled them with things I couldn't dream of affording. He'd talk about trips to places I'd only seen on TV, mention private schools like it was casual small talk. My kids glowed around him in a way they never had with anyone else I dated. That's when I knew this was it. By May of last year, we were already engaged. For the first time in years, I could finally exhale. My friends whispered about me moving too quickly, but they didn't understand what it was like to go from checking your bank balance before buying cereal to touring wedding venues that cost more than my yearly paycheck. They couldn't picture the joy on my kids' faces when Ryan promised them a pool, a game room, and college savings waiting for them. Ryan wasn't just a rebound. He was my lifeline. My way out of that tiny apartment where both kids crammed into 1 bedroom. Out of the endless anxiety of whether I could buy them school clothes or supplies. Out of the constant guilt of telling them no when their friends had everything. We were mapping out the perfect August wedding, and I was finally going to be somebody's wife again, this time to a man who actually mattered. Ryan owned a company pulling in millions every year. He had the mansion, the vacation properties, the luxury cars, everything that screams you've made it. And he wanted to share all of it with me. I felt invincible dropping my kids off at school, knowing I was finally done with struggle. Done with being the broke single mom on the sidelines. Ryan treated me like royalty. And for the first time since my divorce, I knew I was exactly where I belonged. Now, I'm not clueless about men. I knew what I was doing when I kept my dating app installed even after things with Ryan got serious. He assumed we were exclusive, and technically, we were. But any smart woman keeps a backup plan. It's not like I was ever leaving him. He was my winning ticket. But having other men orbit me gave me confidence. There was Mark, who took me out to expensive dinners whenever Ryan traveled. Nothing major, just someone who reminded me I still had options. And then Alex, who spoiled me with jewelry and flowers just for talking to him. To me, that wasn't cheating, I never crossed the big line. And honestly, Ryan was getting the best version of me anyway. When he eventually found out in 2021, I knew exactly how to spin it. Men are so predictable once you learn the buttons to press. I went straight to tears, full vulnerability mode. I told him about my cheating ex, how terrified I was of being hurt again, how keeping small connections was my shield. I was scared you'd realize I'm not enough for someone like you, I whispered through tears. And he completely broke. He actually apologized for not making me feel secure. Can you believe that? He was sorry for my mistakes. That's when I realized I had him wrapped tight around my finger. After that, Ryan doubled down. More gifts, fancier dates, constant reassurance. He became so focused on proving his love that he never questioned me again. Honestly, it was perfect. His reaction only proved how deep his feelings ran. Most men would have walked. Not Ryan. He blamed himself. That's when I knew I'd never have to worry about him leaving. I even started testing limits, staying out late, being vague, letting him see texts from other guys. Every single time, he responded by trying harder. Flowers, trips, surprise outfits I'd bookmarked online. Like a guilty puppy desperate to earn forgiveness. The power I had in that relationship was intoxicating. Then I got pregnant in April, and that sealed everything. Ryan went over the moon, talking about renovating, setting up trust funds, planning for every luxury our baby could ever want. That pregnancy was my insurance policy. Not that I doubted him, but now he had no way out. We weren't just planning a wedding anymore. We were a family. He started browsing bigger SUVs, talking about European trips, private schools for all 4 kids. Walking around with that growing belly, I felt untouchable. I was carrying the air of a millionaire. The other moms at pickup, who used to pity me, now they were asking about my ring, my gown, our new house. I'd gone from broke single mom to glowing fiancé of the most successful man we knew. Ryan even pulled Ethan and Chloe into the baby excitement, asking their input on nursery colors, letting them choose outfits. He made sure they felt just as important as the new baby. He was crafting this picture-perfect family with me in the center of it. He'd talk about bigger houses, vacation spots, college funds for everyone. This was the dream life I'd always chased, and I loved the jealous stares when other moms realized I'd made it. Here I was, radiant, pregnant, and untouchable, engaged to a man who could buy their ex-husbands 10 times over. I had hit the real jackpot, and our baby would be born into a world of privilege most kids never even imagine. And when Ryan's business exploded even more that spring, pulling in those 8-figure profits, I knew without a doubt, I'd played the game exactly right. This man was supposed to take care of me and my kids for the rest of our lives. I was finally about to be a wife again, not just another exhausted, broke single mom clawing to survive. The pregnancy made Ryan even more doting. He rubbed my swollen feet every night, fetched every craving, and asked a dozen times a day if I was comfortable. I felt like royalty with the most devoted husband-to-be in the world. This was how motherhood should be, pampered, secure, no stress, with my baby's future guaranteed. So when Ryan dropped the prenup bomb in June, it felt like he slapped me across the face. After everything we'd been through, after moving my kids into his mansion, after building this picture-perfect wedding, after carrying his child, he wanted paperwork to protect his precious millions from me. I couldn't process the insult. 6 months pregnant with his baby, about to take his last name, and suddenly he was treating me like a liability. All his promises of unconditional love, partnership, family, it apparently stopped at his bank account. It's just standard, he kept repeating, like I was some business deal he needed insurance for. It protects both of us. It protects the kids. But what about me? What about the safety I was promised? I didn't leave everything behind, didn't merge my kids into his world, just to be treated like a potential gold digger. The man who swore he couldn't live without me now wanted legal protection against me. I told him calmly at first how betrayed I felt, how much it hurt that he was preparing for divorce before marriage even started. But he hid behind business logic and lawyers. What about my dignity? My worth? Treating me like an equal partner, not a threat. The more he droned on about protecting assets, the more my blood boiled. He was basically saying I was disposable. After everything I'd given up, after every man I turned down because I believed in him, this was my reward. If you really loved me, you wouldn't need a prenup, I told him. But he just kept insisting it was normal for people with wealth. Normal? I wasn't some random fling. I was carrying his child. I was his future wife. Instead, I felt humiliated, betrayed in a way words couldn't capture. How was I supposed to walk down the aisle in August knowing the man at the altar didn't trust me? How was I supposed to believe in a lifetime with someone already planning escape routes? Every time I brought it up, he gave the same robotic answer about protecting everyone involved. But protecting me? No. To him, I was a liability, not a partner. I don't regret what came next, because Ryan needed to understand the damage he'd done. Talking hadn't worked. Explaining hadn't mattered. So I showed him. I started with the crystal vase his mother gave him, the one he babied like it was priceless. I hurled it against the wall, watching it explode into 1,000 shards. That sound was exactly how my heart felt when he asked for legal armor against me. But instead of realizing his mistake, he just stared at me like I was crazy. That made me angrier. I grabbed the remote and launched it through his precious 75-inch flat screen. The crack was music. Let him see what happens when you treat the mother of your unborn child like some stranger who can't be trusted. Is this what you wanted? I screamed. To see what happens when you push me away. When he tried to calm me like I was some hysterical patient, I snapped. I threw everything within reach, decorative bowls, picture frames, books, each crash bleeding out my rage. Then I moved to bigger targets. I flipped the dining table, smashing his perfect settings. I toppled the bar cart, glass bottles shattering in rivers of alcohol. Finally, I punched a hole through our bedroom wall, my fist raw, the void matching the one in my chest. The best was his face when I grabbed his Porsche keys. For once, Mr. Always in Control panicked. I dangled them in front of him. You want to protect your assets? Let's see your prenup protect this. I hid his house keys too. If he wanted to treat me like an outsider, he could figure out how to get inside like one. By the time I was done, his perfect house looked like a natural disaster. Glass, splinters, wreckage, just like our relationship after his betrayal. Fast forward 18 months. I'm in a dingy 2-bedroom with my kids sharing a bunk bed. Scrolling Ryan's, Instagram. Happy family portraits with his new wife, Melissa, and all 4 kids, including my daughter Ava, who barely knows me anymore. The DNA test proves she's his, but according to his lawyers, my unstable behavior made me a danger. He has custody. She calls Melissa Mom in the comments now. My baby. Melissa's an accountant. Plain, boring, probably makes 50 grand a year and thinks Olive Garden is fine dining. She signed the prenup without blinking, no questions asked. And yet she gets the dream life. She's raising my daughter in my house, with my kids visiting on weekends they look forward to, because they love the pool and the game room and the life I lost them. Meanwhile, I'm back clipping coupons, juggling 2 jobs, drowning again. My kids are bitter, asking when we're going back to the real house, why Melissa gets to be there instead of me. His older kids ignore me like I never existed. The child support barely covers Ava's daycare. And the court labeled me unfit because I had one bad day. One explosion. One justified outburst. Now I'm branded as unstable forever. Friends say I dodged a bullet. That I'm better off without a man who didn't trust me. But they don't see the Instagram stories. The European vacations with my daughter. The Disney trips Melissa takes them on. The new lake house. His business is booming. Apparently, cutting me loose was his ticket to even more millions. But whatever. Let him keep his money, his basic new wife, his lawyers, his prenup. I gave him my best years, carried his child, loved his kids like they were mine. If he can't value that, it's his loss. I'll find someone who actually knows what love looks like. Someone who doesn't need a legal contract before they say I do. The truth. None of this would have happened if Ryan had just trusted me. But men with money always think their bank account makes them untouchable. He destroyed our family over a piece of paper. At least I know this, I fought for us. He gave up.